Mike Tyson was a street fighter. Yeah, man. And street fighters are the most overrated fighters on the planet. And that is shown as an example by how dominant every man who has even a tiny bit of skill is on the street. Like, I was a street fighter too. And when I was like 13 or 14, I was able to completely dominate adults. When I was 15, I was winning international competitions against adults, like Mike Tyson, right? The average man and the average street fighter is not so far from the average man. And the average man is about as strong as a tiny little baby. Like, they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. So it's not impressive at all. There's a reason why most street fighters stay street fighters. And that one reason, the sole reason for that is they are unfit to be dominant in actual competition. So they stay on their little porch just in front of their own house on the street. And they never measure up to actual competition. And if there is once in a couple years a very dominant street fighter, they will go to actual competition. Because if you fight for status. Even on the street, a street fighter does it for status, not for fun. It's not fun to fight, you fight for status. And street fighting is just enough status to have someone buy you a beer. So if you had the opportunity and possibility to prove yourself in the big ring with the big dogs, you would. And there's a reason we see so few of those street fighters ever attempt that. Because they are not good enough. And the ones who are complete monsters on the street, like a 13-year-old Mike Tyson dominating adult men, is because the others are complete. And then we see that man, like Mike Tyson, also dominating in the ring. Or like Kimbo Slice, we see him not dominating. He was the absolute worldwide #1 beast of backyard fighting. But in the ring, he wasn't. Then we see, who's that? Like Jorge Masvidal, who's a street fighting legend, and now he's in the UFC. Why don't we see more of those street fighters? Because almost all the other street fighters are nowhere close to that capacity. Nowhere close. To win street fights is enough. It's enough to just know absolute basics and have a tiny little level of fighting. That's enough. So it's not impressive at all to me if somebody says they're a street fighter. It's like, wow, good for you, man.